Hi, Francis. Welcome to the Listen.Better podcast this week.
Hey, Annabel.
Where
Good
do
to
I
be
find you? Which part of the country are you in?
I'm in London today. What about
Sunny
you?
London. I'm in rainy Brighton today, so apologies if you hear the rain in the background. So welcome, Francis. And as many of you know listening today, Francis is the Director General of the Public Relations and Communications Association, the PRCA, and the Chief Exec of the International Communications Consultancy Organisation, ICO. I've known Francis many years in our work through working agency side and more recently as Question and Retain, and we regularly work with ICO members to understand what they're thinking and feeling. Francis has a background in politics and public affairs, not adverse to controversy through his career, educated at Oxford Uni, studying politics, philosophy and economics, and in his many achievements through his working in membership organisations. He's had battles with the Newspaper Licensing Association, representing agency leaders. He's really focused on the importance of lobbying and the role of communicators in that. Has been through the whole growth in social media and how that's absolutely transformed the communications sector. Been involved in landmark disciplinary cases, such as expelling Bell Pottinger from PRCA over an ethical issue. Launched the apprenticeship programme and really driven internships and how to look after the young fresh talent coming into the industry. Been hugely innovative in around the diversity and inclusion agenda, and more recently mental health and well-being. So that brings me neatly, Francis, I think, to mental health and well-being obviously being particularly important at this time we find us. Here we are in September, after 6 months of lockdown and easing out of lockdown and possibly facing further lockdown. So I'm really interested today to find out about, as a leader of a membership organisation, what was your initial reaction back in March when the news hit the agenda that we were going to be locked down?
It was shock. Honestly, we can all package these things up and try and spin them, I suppose. But in reality, it was shock. I was ill when Boris made his announcement with COVID-like symptoms. As it happens, I don't know if I had it or not. I was ill for a couple of weeks, and everything that people suggest about being the symptoms of COVID. So I wasn't there the day that we closed down our office. It was left to others to do that because I was isolating at home. And my initial reaction was, I say, shock, and then really deep concern about whether the organisation would survive. Being perfectly candid about all of this, we did daily bank forecasts, and I would receive a summary every morning of when the company would go out of existence because we would have run out of money.
That must have been a very scary few days, early couple of weeks. How did you react personally? What steps did you take to take self-care around that, I suppose?
I felt overwhelmed by the responsibility. I'm just being perfectly candid about all of this. Overwhelmed by the responsibility to the industry, but particularly to my team. I didn't know, if they were going to have jobs at the end of all of this, and to my family about providing for them. And I really don't think I was alone in any of that. And it was this curious balance with the team of trying to remain upbeat when you are desperately concerned about financial viability. But trying to balance those two with also engendering a sense of urgency and commitment, and so making people realize this is really, really serious, but please don't panic. And we've all got to work our guts out to get through it. And if we do work our guts out, then hopefully we will get through it, which is a very difficult balance, isn't it?
It is an incredible balance, and I think you're not alone in that, and that will resonate with a lot of listeners. So reflecting, what do you say worked well and what perhaps didn't? And if you could relive those early weeks, what would you have done differently? But first of all, what worked well?
We moved really quickly to providing everything online. And probably everybody says that, but I believe it to be definitely true in our case. We did move all of our events online within a few days. So we didn't think this is going to be a blip, although we hoped it would be. We worked on the basis it was going to be permanent. And we chased money really vigorously, but with subtlety, if you know what I mean. So we were chasing stuff, but when people said, we can't pay you, we were perfectly understanding about it. And then I suppose the main thing we did was we gave away a load of things for free, which might sound counterintuitive with the whole we're chasing money, but we tried to engender this sense of community within the industry. So doing lots of calls between groups of people, putting on experts in the field, trying to get people to share what was happening in their world, becoming a sort of therapy centre, I suppose, and advice centre, so that people stuck with us. And I think that worked well. I mean, we had a renewal invoice go out last week from an agent to an agency, and his response was, we're cutting back on memberships, but we're keeping yours because of how you behaved when this all began. So doing the right thing pays it forward sometimes, yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, I was going to come on to member response, because I know you have over 30,000 practitioners that you represent. You're in 41 national associations represented by ICO. So huge responsibility, as you touched on at the beginning. What kind of response have you had from them?
I mean, within the other associations, the 40 odd associations, some of them are in better places than others. All of them are trying to learn from one another. That's certainly the case, and there's a sense of community there. Within membership, agency and in-house membership in the UK, people were really responsive to lots of contact, so lots of engagement. And even when they weren't engaging back, subsequently they've contacted us to say that they were grateful for the amount of communication we were putting out. You asked what earlier on, if there's anything I learned that we did wrong, we could have done better. We probably didn't communicate well enough with staff. And I think if I could go back, we would have done more all team calls, and we would have reached out even more than we did to individuals who were having a tough time. And I think, and again, I'm just being candid about all of this, I think it's easy when you're looking at the numbers every day to forget that certain people who are in particularly vulnerable personal circumstances are having a rotten time, and not to reach out directly to them. And what I've realised looking back is the times I, as the Director General, Chief Exec, went to somebody young on the team directly and asked how they were in the right way, rather than digging as an employer. You know, when I went to them and asked them how they were, they appreciated that, and I wish I would have done more of that at the beginning than I did.
Okay, that's very honest. Thank you. How do you see the future of membership organisation based on what you've learned from the COVID experience? So in other words, what can you take forward that's going to help shape the PRCA and ICO that you've learned through the COVID time?
Well, I mean, it's been an incredibly tough period, and of course, it's by no means over, is it? So what have I learned? I've learned that we can change really quickly when we have an imperative to do so. And there are some really positive things that have happened in this period. Like lots of membership organisations in the UK, we've been told for years by members that we're too London-centric. And that's definitely changed, because everything we do is available to everybody, regardless of where they are in the UK. And as an organisation that is avowedly international, it's been the same thing. We've become completely international. And so our members in Dubai can more or less access the same level of service as our members in London. Even when we get back, please God, to something approaching normality, we'll be keeping lots of what has changed. We'll be keeping it permanently. So, we run 3 to 5 events a week online, of course, that are free for all of our members to attend. And we'll be keeping with that. We'll supplement it with some of the old stuff of face-to-face events, because I think there's a real appetite for that. And it's only going to build up the longer this goes on. And when I speak with colleagues, as I did this morning, in Singapore, Dubai and Buenos Aires, there is definitely an appetite for face-to-face meetings, and they're having some of them in Singapore and Dubai, for example. But we'll keep that sense of community by just making everything available to all of our members all the time, and that will be a positive that's come out of this.
Sure. I know you're really proactive in asking what your members think and feel, and what the agency leads think and feel, and we've conducted the confidence tracker for ICO in particular. How would you say confidence is amongst your members?
So I would say that the stages we all went through in the PR industry within our membership were probably similar to everybody. Shock, trying to remodel really quickly, realizing that we could all survive in that manner, then realizing that this wasn't going to be a really quick experience. And now we're in this bumpy road that is, broadly speaking, going upwards, but with the odd curve down, is how I see it. So the Question and Retain Pulse that we did in April had reasonably good confidence. But then by August, it was much higher. So I think it had gone from 38% saying they were confident about the future of the organisation overall to 64%. So we have a positive industry that's getting more positive over time. And I mean, they all talk about there will be a second economic shock when people have to pay, when furlough or other government support measures end, when they have to repay the debts they've accrued, rent, rates, tax, and so on. But I had a call this afternoon with a recruiter who's in the sector who says things aren't brilliant, but there are more and more briefs coming in. I speak with agency and in-house leaders saying there is more business and more business confidence, broadly speaking, with every month that goes by. And my overall analysis is the industry at the end of the calendar year will be about 20% smaller in terms of money and 10% smaller in terms of people, but that in the medium term, recovery will be reasonably strong. So I'm realistic but optimistic, I hope.
Okay.
About it.
Well, I hope to come back to you and check those figures perhaps early next spring. But just to finish up, and thank you so much for being honest about the journey you've been on and that you've seen in the sector as well, the industry. What's coming up for ICO and PRCA in the next 3 months? Just some top highlights.
So we'd normally be doing our national awards in PRCA in London, Park Lane Hilton, big event, 800 people. We're taking that online. We're going to have a comedian. We'll be selling tickets. We're going to try and make it as lively an experience as you can make an award event that is online. The Eco Global Awards, the same. The Eco Summit was due to be in Singapore in November. None of us are flying to Singapore, but lots of people are tuning in. And, this is one of the positives. It's a really big number of really senior people who are speaking at that event and who'll be who will be joining it. And then there's lots of campaigning work around mental health, around opportunity. We set up in the PRCA our Race and Ethnicity Equity Board a couple of months ago. We changed the makeup of our board, our main board, to make it reflect society as it is, rather than the industry as it's composed. And lots more of just supporting members. If I could make one other additional comment, and that's all right. I've said repeatedly, and I really mean it, I think everyone in this industry is facing an incredible period of incredible stress, and an elongated period as well. But I say the pressure is the most intense at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Leaders who have to appear confident, or who often think they have to appear confident and they know what the future holds all the time, when they have neither of those qualities possibly. And the people at the beginning of their careers who are working in very difficult circumstances often, and for whom this is not how they thought the first year or something of their working lives was going to be. I think there is incredible mental health pressure on people. And I think that those of us who lead associations have a uniquely valuable and occasionally stressful role in trying to be the conduit that helps both of those groups and everybody else in between.
I think that's a really, if I may say it, beautifully put sentiment to finish on. And I think agency leaders and membership organisation leads need to really listen to that. And I think going back to the point you made earlier about listening more to your staff, engaging with your people to really understand what it's like for them, not about digging for performance perhaps, but to really understand that they're on track to do the job. So thank you so much for your time today, Francis. I hope the sunshine in London comes down to rainy Brighton in time, but enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Okay, Annabel, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.